Hello, and welcome back to Onboard. I'm your host, Victor Wright, and today I want to talk about a serious issue. Guys, I think the world is ending. Now, these could affect anyone at any second of any minute of any day. According to the Red Cross, a disaster is defined as a serious disruption occurring over a relatively short time, involving widespread human, material, economic, or environmental loss and impacts, which exceeds the ability of the affected community to cope using its own resources. There is a silver lining, and that is disaster preparedness. Not to be confused with disaster awareness. I can be aware that I have 3 midterms in the next 2 weeks, but if I don't do anything to prepare for it, my dad will be more disappointed in me than he was during Little League Baseball last year. Currently, our actions to generate preparedness, whether from state officials, emergency responders, or citizens, are deficient. For example, failure to take the right preventative measures to reduce the spread of wildfire can result in greater destruction and more aggressive fires. This is relevant in the California ecosystem, where the environment needs fire occasionally to ensure the healthy and normal development of plants and trees. Key word being normal. There is a team in California, the Vegetation Management Program, which, ironically, is also the name of my startup health program that euthanizes patients in comas. Anyway, the state-funded group is dedicated to burning controlled fires and managing the ecosystem. They have averaged approximately 25,000 acres per year since its inception, which is considered like a Taylor Swift level fire. However, compared to the 214,000 acres of land burned in Northern California during the month of October alone, or like a Yeezus level fire, this is insignificant. Another issue we've failed to take preventative actions towards is structural integrity in the face of potential future disasters. This may seem like a given. Don't use faulty techniques to build a building if you know an earthquake or a tornado can abolish the entire structure. Classic Three Little Pigs scenario. However, many cities and countries continue to make the same mistakes over and over again, whether due to insufficient funds or faulty contractors, to name a few reasons. According to the LA Times, Los Angeles inspectors have comprised a list of 13,500 apartments that must face retrofitting in order to minimize destruction in the wake of a shake. God, that is so fucking stupid. Okay, whatever. Additionally, over 1,000 concrete buildings were deemed vulnerable, with the potential to cause inner damage to structures, significantly affecting those trapped inside. If we were hit with, say, an 8.0 magnitude earthquake, these structures would collapse under the stress, kind of like me fighting my inner demons at 1:45 a.m. Unfortunately, we tend to only act after catastrophes occur. Still, through our mistakes, we find a way to generate positive action in the aftermath. An example of this is Hurricane Katrina. While the response to the disaster was inadequate, in the 12 years since, emergency response has made a lot of progress. FEMA has reported improved capabilities to provide support when disaster strikes, as well as their ability to respond and recover from them. Keep in mind, this is something FEMA has reported about themselves. I'm onto you, FEMA. I send in my friend's clean urine to my parole officer. I see your game. The San Francisco and Northridge earthquakes in 1989 and 1994 had similar effects. The damage was devastating and cost billions, but more was spent strengthening buildings all throughout California to make sure that if another disaster were to strike, the results would be much less destructive. When the Northridge earthquake occurred, it took 45 minutes to determine its magnitude of 6.7, but with today's technology, magnitude can be calculated in only 2 minutes. This paired with the immediacy of modern communication, means that people can know exactly what they're dealing with sooner than ever before. For example, Mexico implemented a quake warning system. During the recent earthquakes in Mexico City, sensors placed around the fault lines allowed a siren to be sounded 15 seconds before any shaking. That might not sound like much, but 15 seconds can make a huge difference. Am I right, ladies? You know I'm right. All right. And although California doesn't have it yet, the fact that this technology exists and is being utilized is a major step in the right direction. Another step forward is social media, which allows people to stay informed and get live updates on disasters, with Facebook offering users a dedicated safety check tab to notify their followers that they are out of harm's way. And if your friends did die a slow, painful death, well, at least you have your memes. Your sexy, sexy minion memes. Oh yeah. It's important to note that the destruction doesn't end with geohazards. Disasters are not limited to outbursts of Mother Nature, but can include events that are man-made and even technological, such as a cyber attack. In many cases, disasters are caused purely by antagonistic interactions. Sometimes it has been for militaristic purposes, like the creation of the atom bomb in 1945. In other cases, man-made disasters can be as small-scale, yet no less devastating as a single person with a weapon and bad intentions. Knowing the scope of events that can be considered disasters, how can we even begin to hope to prepare for all of them? Look, we live in a world where for decades, the key advice for a nuclear strike in America was to duck and cover. That's like preparing for a tsunami by wearing goggles and a banana hammock. This doesn't exactly instill confidence in our preparedness, and when it seems like there's some kind of destructive force every other day, it does feel like we're due for a world-ending catastrophe. The fact of the matter is, though, we're not. News is nearly instantaneous and more widespread through the shift from the printed word to be pixelized, making us feel bombarded with bad news that we would have been ignorant of years ago. One of our strengths as human beings is wanting to learn from our mistakes, and the first step in doing so is to face them. It's frightening, but ultimately good for us. I fully believe that we are making positive growth towards a day where confidence triumphs over fear. This starts with individual action. We all must be vigilant, learning to practice situational awareness, anticipate danger, and strategize ways to escape the danger. However, we can't anticipate everything. Disasters can be random and virtually unpreventable, like the eventual heat death of the universe, which, I personally can't wait for. It's a clean slate, guys, come on. But in any case, there's one piece of advice that will be helpful in any situation. To quote Douglas Adams, don't panic. As always, I'm Victor Wright, and thank you for watching On Board. Good night. Gonna scratch my nose now. It was like half the monologue. I needed to scratch my nose.